So basically this video is just kind of like something that I threw together with my friends during the summer. None of them have ever been to Germany to my knowledge, nor are they really experts on the particular areas or things that I asked them about. But it was just something that I thought would be fun and interesting, so hopefully you enjoy.
So, based off of your personal knowledge, would you consider Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel as a more conservative or liberal leader?
From what I have complete knowledge on, I believe she's part of a conservative party, but because of what I have heard throughout the news, I believe her to be more of a liberal.
I would say she's probably more liberal because she is letting a lot of refugees in.
Okay.
That's about as far as my knowledge goes, though.
Her Family Guy. I want to say she's conservative.
Based on what I know, I'd probably say she's liberal.
From my understanding, at least in the German frame of view, she is considered a moderate to moderate conservative. That probably means in America's sense, she's probably moderate, at least moderately liberal. I don't know anything about specific policies, but just browsing Wiki's random day, I think she's part of the Christian Democratic Union or something like that.
Okay. Would you prefer Angela Merkel's leadership over Trump's, or is there someone else you'd rather have as a leader?
I think Angela Merkel is probably better than Trump. Trump's really hard on a lot of stuff. She seems to be more flexible and willing to negotiate on things. Although her stance on the refugees is starting to make people upset, I feel like somewhere in between is probably a little bit better, but she's probably better all around.
Out of what we have currently, I don't despise Trump wholly compared to most people, so I believe I would be fine staying with Trump.
I'd rather stick with Gary Johnson, but he sort of got put down the toilet, didn't he?
I don't have a personal leader that I'd want over Trump, but I don't honestly take anyone over Trump, so I'd probably take Angela over Trump.
Okay.
She seems more presidential. I know she's a champ.
Yeah. Do you think Germany has more or less immigrants than the United States?
Fuck. I want to say more. More registered immigrants.
Recently from the Middle East, I would say Germany has more, but in total, I feel like the US probably has more. And it's quite a bit larger population, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably percentage-wise, it definitely has more. I know that there's like a big issue going on because of the EU. They're at least required to allow a certain amount of immigrants in because there's like a lot of them immigrating from like the Middle East and other areas. There's a lot of refugees. Probably not gross-wise, since America just has like is larger and has a larger population. There's probably like technically more immigrants coming to America, but again, not percentage-wise.
Okay.
It all depends on if we're talking what time frames we're talking about. As far as currently, they currently are receiving quite a few immigrants, but as far as the whole time has progressed, the U.S. has received more immigrants than Germany has.
Do you think more Americans wind up immigrating to Germany, or more Germans wind up immigrating to the U.S.?
Kind of a similar situation, except reverse of what I said last time. Probably percentage-wise, more Germans are coming to America, but gross, more Americans are going to Germany.
Americans to Germany.
I believe more Germans would immigrate to America because of the limit of land that the Germans have, so it limits the business opportunities, leading them to search for a more open and prosperous free market of the Americas.
I would say, that's a good question. I would say, I want to say more Germans come to America, but I feel like a lot of Americans go over there to visit and also like military-wise, so I feel like it really depends. I feel like probably more Germans come to America, but it's really hard to tell.
Okay. Do you think that Germany spends more or less than the United States on their military? And considering they're a NATO partner, how do you feel about their military spending?
I think they spend less on their military than we do, because I'm pretty sure America's like in the top three. But I don't really mind them spending more money on strengthening their military as long as they're not pointing their military at us.
They certainly spend less, from my understanding. It's pretty obvious, at least, because have always been less involved in the Middle East, specifically militarily wise. I'm not necessarily a military person, so I don't know. But being part of NATO, of course, they have to fund it at least partially, pick up part of the bill. It's throughout its history, although controversial, it seems like it's been rather effective. So I'd say I am probably okay with where their spending limit is now, not knowing any numbers.
Germany spends far less than the Americans do on anything compared to military and defense possibilities.
I mean, it's America. We have one of the top militaries, and in my opinion, NATO's just sort of support for that stuff.
Alright, so Germany definitely spends less than the United States, by far. We probably spend more on military than they do on like anything. And then, what was the part of the NATO? What was it?
Considering they're a NATO partner, how do you feel about their military spending?
I think the military spending is fine. I feel like having a standing military that's fairly strong is good, especially considering the location being in Central Europe. Like, they kind of need some sort of military in case something goes down over there, but the U.S. probably has too big of a military, and I don't feel like they should have as big of a military as we do, because I already feel like ours is too big.
Okay. What sort of free time activities do you think the average German engages in, and do you think these greatly deviate from those of the average Americans?
It's probably relatively similar due to what people have is relatively similar, not very different from what we have. Maybe a few more outdoor activities than the average American.
You mean like people our age?
People our age, maybe a little older, a little younger.
I assume they probably do the same things we do, you know, go out to parties, go out to drinking, you know, go to concerts. It's just probably a little different because the culture there is probably a little different from ours.
That's a hard question. I feel like they're probably fairly similar to Americans. They might be controlled more by the weather. Like if it's sunny out, they might go outside more than at least Texans do, because it's sunny quite often here. And if it's rainy, they probably don't go out as much because it's more of a common occurrence. But I feel like they're probably fairly similar to the U.S. and like what we do in our free time.
I don't think they greatly deviate, like in the general sense, from average Americans. I'm sure they go out and have fun a lot of times. I'm sure a good portion of them play video games or do stuff like that, more akin to what I do. It might like have like nuanced differences. Like I'm sure the bar culture is a lot different there. I wouldn't know, but I'm sure it is a lot different. Yeah, so I imagine, especially being shared in the Western world, that having a good time is about the same.
I was gonna say drinking. Drinking, probably. Hiking, biking, mountain biking stuff. Movies. Probably not a ton of movies.
Do you think these activities greatly deviate from the average American's free time activities?
Yeah. I think Americans do a lot more video games and stuff than most other countries.
Okay.
A lot more, less drinking. More drugs. Not more drugs. Drugs are pretty prevalent here.
Would you say that Germans view sex and sexual behaviors differently than Americans?
Oh yeah, Americans are much more uptight about that compared to Germans. And it kind of also, like, Germans are more uptight about, like, gun laws than Americans are. So it's like they give into violence in general than Americans are. So Americans are much more uptight on like sex ed and stuff, and they believe more in abstinence rather than education and stuff. So.
I wouldn't believe they would. I don't see many things that would be greatly different on the subject.
Yeah. Prostitution's legal.
Okay.
Not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I definitely think so because everywhere views those kind of things differently.
Do you think that Germans are more accepting of those that deviate from heterosexual activities?
I'm not exactly 100% sure on their inclination on that subject, but I'd have to go with they're probably more open to it.
Okay.
I imagine it's pretty similar. I heard this on the news recently that at least at the federal level, I think Germany recently allowed same-sex marriage. That was also a very recent thing here that happened. I think that was a Supreme Court case here at least, so a little bit different probably. But knowing that, I imagine that there's a good portion of the Germans' population that's A-okay with all that stuff, a good portion that is completely against that. Same thing here. So I'm sure it sort of averages out where people don't know how they're going to react, and they're just waiting. People are waiting to find an answer, and it's just going to happen sometime.
Than like the average American?
Yeah, like, do you think that like Germans are more okay with it, or?
I would say the average American, yeah. There's some that like, if they hear you're straight, they think that you're gonna burn in hell.
If you're straight?
Yeah.
Okay.
My college there were.
North America is a little bit different than the South. The South's definitely more less forgiving than that.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe you found that interesting. I had a lot of fun making it, so I don't really care. But as I said, it was just kind of to pique my own personal interest, and it was mostly just about fun, so I hope you enjoyed.